Well, g'day, g'day. Today, what we're going to do is we're going to talk about the E4. Now, this is the American Tier 10 tank destroyer, and it comes in the line that has the T30. Most people would know that at Tier 9. It's a fantastic Tier 9, and it certainly is a very good tank. It has a big, massive gun, and so does the E4. First game I'm going to show you here is at Middleburg, and Middleburg, a bit of a classic map, and you can see it's not supremacy. And we can see this mouse on this team has called right, he's called town, and now he's heading up the hill, which is complete opposite of where a mouse would normally go in this map, because obviously what you can do with those tanks is side scrape off buildings and try and bounce shots because of the unbelievable armor. And the E4, while it's a tank destroyer and it has some armor on the front, is completely vulnerable from the back. So the idea would have been to get right into town there, establish ourselves, and obviously take out the tanks ahead of us and keep pushing through. But he's not decided to do that. He's decided, as a big, massive, heavy tank, he's going to take on the mediums, which normally come down from the hill that way. And it doesn't really work out too well for him. But what we end up doing is realizing that the rear end of this tank is quite vulnerable. We put some shots in here on a IS-4, take some ourselves, but we then realize he's got three tanks all over him. So what I'm going to do is actually use him, and he's getting absolutely pummeled by these guys. So I start putting shots in, dropped adrenaline, and you can see the rate of fire is not fantastic in this tank, but the gun really does just wreak havoc. Another 480 damage there. Every shot, 480 to 600 damage. And, while it's got the typical, you watch this, HE shot, 764 damage on that grill. Absolutely wrecked his whole day. And, from that he paid the price. But so did our mouse. So what we're looking at here is a tank that is completely mobile. It's got a movable turret, which is fantastic from a tank destroyer point of view. And look at this shot. Boom. Fairly decent gun in terms of not only firepower, but also in terms of accuracy, which is quite unusual for American tanks. They don't always have accurate guns, but you can see we can just put the damage here in, and now he can't pen the front of us. And my good mate Cam comes in and ruins him, finishes off his day, which is great. So good there platooning with Cam from our clan foil. But you have a look at this. At the end of the day, with 3,300 damage, all because we took advantage of the mouse, who then become rather abusive towards Cam on private chat. Anyway, that's another story. So in this match, you'll have a look at the opposition on the other side there. They've got E4, they've got a Terror, which is basically a 140, OBJ 140. They've got a Jagdpanzer E100 tank destroyer, a grill, and an E100. They've got some big tanks on their side of the fence. And ordinarily, I would try and avoid this bridge in this case and try and put some shots in and actually clear the mediums out and come back that way. But we've got no choice. Our whole team's coming this way, apart from a couple of guys who are holding off the mediums on that side. So what I'm doing in this case, I'm setting myself up for the shot. Look at that, 450 damage on that grill, one shot. And I knew it was going to come through. I didn't know it was going to be a grill, but I knew it was going to be a tank of some sorts. I would pull back, wait for my next round to reload, reset, and we go again. And again, I'm not exposing myself. I'm not sitting out there in the open, because while it's a decent tank, look at that, another 480 damage onto an E100 lower plate. While we're sort of able to do damage with a 155mm gun, we can take damage too. So we don't want to do that. We don't want to leave ourselves vulnerable and open to that. But what I've done is I've actually swiveled around here and I've realised that we've got our medium tanks under siege, which means I've got to help them out. You can't have these guys on the back of you on an E100 with, a fairly slow, I think it's about 4 rounds a minute load time, because they're just going to pump you with a damage per minute advantage. And even though you can do big damage to them, you've got a big long reload. And if they get around on the back of you, you're gone. And that's one thing with the tank. You can't actually turn the turret back around on itself. So, if they get in behind you there, you're kind of stuck. And that's one of those little technicalities with the tank, but we don't worry about that. This is a great tier 10 tank destroyer, but you've got to treat it with a little bit of kit gloves. You can't just go out there and be front line. And you can see what I'm doing here. I'm just poking my nose up, which has got a fairly strong turret, and it's got a fairly solid gun mantlet. So from that point of view, we can obviously take a few shots on the top of the head there without getting too much damage on us. So what we're doing now is we're just trying to line a shot, use the gun depression, and keep our hull down, which is what you should do with most of the tier 9, 10, 8 American tanks. They love to go hull down. Not always possible, but try to do it where you can. And now we're pushing up and trying to get some shots on their E4. And again, see, I'm keeping hull down. I'm only exposing my turret. If he gets a shot on me, he's going to do damage, but he's not going to wreck my tank. Where this guy here, he's not doing that. So he's leaving his lower hull exposed to me, and I can put big damage, and our Jagdpanzer comes in and finishes him off, E100. So again, the tank is really effective in this sort of stuff. I can go hull down. I've got a little bit of gun depression. This PTA is not really of a concern to me, that Jagdpanzer E100 is, but I really want to clear him out because he's just annoying, and we just can't quite get there. So Jagdpanzer E100's cleared. Now we're just down to mopping up the last guy, and it's going to be all over Red Rover. So from that point of view, we get a kill, but we put damage in. The whole game we did damage, and we didn't die. Obviously, this is going to be a tank that, last man standing, 3,800 damage, we top scored. Obviously, the Jagdpanzer did a great job, and our team won that match fairly comfortably. But you've got to use the tank in its best environment. That's hull down, only exposing your turret, which is going to give you a little bit more armor, and using that gun depression. Now, back in Middleburg again, unfortunately, that was just the way that the game's rolled, and this time it is a supremacy. So I called left, and they've said why left, and obviously the big issue with their team is they've got a 183. Now, I know a 183 can do a heck of a lot of damage to me with one hit, and that's what I want to try and avoid. So I want to go up here, clear any mediums out with our team, and then just what I like to do is take the high ground, and with this I've got the gun depression. I can then rain lead down on the bottom, and I'm going to show you how we do that in this tank fairly effectively. And again, it's one of those situations where you have to be patient, and you hear me talking about patience a lot in these matches, and that's just the truth. If you just want to rush in there and hit point trade with everyone, you're just going to find that you will 9 times out of 10 come off second best. We want to be able to do damage and survive. We want to be able to do damage and be there to support the rest of the team. If we just go out there and just get completely pummeled, and we've all done it, what good are you to the rest of the team if you're all done and dusted and you're not putting any more damage in? It's just not going to be any good. So at the moment, this is starting to look like a men's urinal at a footy match. And becoming a bit sort of tight and squeezed there, so I've decided to bail and go to some other location. No one wants to be that close to another bloke at a urinal, let's face it. So pull around the other side, and it's actually just kind of lucky that I did, because I'm faced with a tier 9 with a very decent gun, and this is the KPF thingo with whatever tank it is. I don't have one of those, so I don't like it. Bloody good gun, actually, for tier 9. Does a lot of damage. 500 damage on me. But you can see we're able to try and stay hull down, but he's got a really good gun. And look at that. He managed to bounce because we got the shot in and pulled back. That's what you're doing every time you're doing that maneuver. If you're pulling forward, shooting, and then pulling back, you're actually doing damage and not taking damage and hopefully bouncing. So again, we're dominating this top area. They're going to make the mistake now of chasing us into here, which is what they've done. And you can see now we've got an advantage. They've got a 183 who has now got several big gun tanks right on them. We do some big damage. Our Yag Panzer's in there. He's going to do some damage on the IS-4. And this all came because our strategy. And our team listened. I'm not saying I'm the guru here and know what I'm know the best thing to do, but when a team player says let's go one direction, have a plan. Don't all go off in different directions and go from one end of the place to the other and be all scattered, because that's the perfect thing for the opposition. They will single you out and absolutely destroy you and pick you off one by one. At least if you're working together and you're focusing on one tank at a time and you're doing the damage, you're going to actually get more wins than not. So there's a bit of a strategy. If you're new to the game, don't go running off on your own and think you're gonna beat the world, unless you're in a fast tank like an RU-251 or something. You want to keep moving and keep getting shots in from cover and not being seen. But that's not an E1. That's not an E4. This is an E4, and it's built to be support tank, do damage. Like I said, tank destroyers do damage, and a lot of it. So thanks for looking at the channel. Thanks for looking at the video. Please subscribe and like the video. Cheers.